along with our interim manager, Hager, and our acting attorney, Willie Darby. We are live on YouTube.
Good afternoon, commissioners, staff, and community. Today, February 27th, 2022, our regular meeting. And I will open the meeting this evening with our public charge. The Board of Commissioners asked its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. I'm going to ask Commissioner Carter if you would do the Pledge of Allegiance for us this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we would like to welcome any, are there any announcements from any commissioners? We've got a couple that's not listed, but why don't we go ahead and allow any agenda adjustment? Seeing none, I will start with our clerk to read our announcements, and there will be a few that we will add. I have a couple, and for any other commissioner that may have something.
Good evening, everyone. I'll begin with the announcements for tonight's meeting. As a reminder, all of the website and email addresses shared will be available on the county website as well. DECO Public Health COVID-19 Vaccination Clinic Hours. The COVID-19 Vaccination Clinic at the Durham County Department of Public Health, 414 East Main Street, has the following hours to get your free vaccination. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Tuesdays from 9 a.m. till 5:15 p.m. Appointments and walk-ins are welcome. All doses are available. Please note clinics are closed between 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. daily. Please visit www.decopublichealth.org/COVID vaccines or call 919-560-9217 for more information. COVID-19 vaccine event. Duke Health, Durham County Department of Public Health, Durham Parks and Recreation, and other local partners will host a community COVID vaccine event on Saturday, March 5th from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at Wills Fun Park, located at 715 North Hoover Road. Boosters for 12 years and up and vaccines for 5 years and up will be given for free. No appointment is necessary. Free COVID-19 testing will also be available. Durham County Cooperative Extension's 4-H program offerings. The Durham County Cooperative Extension 4-H program will be offering several low-cost options this summer for children and youth, including day camps and 2 overnight camps. Early registration is suggested due to limited campers per session to ensure proper social distancing. You can register online at tinyurl.com/Durham Summer Fun. The 4-H Youth Program is also hosting its second annual 4-H Feather Classic Show in October. Youth age 5 through 18 will need to register by March 4th to pick up your baby chicks in mid-May. Training is being provided. You can contact Matt Colbert, I think I pronounced that correctly, for more information about both programs at 919-560-8295 or by email at gmhulber@ncsu.edu. Durham Creek Week is coming. Mark your calendars for March 12th through 19th, as this year's Durham Creek Week will offer virtual and in-person activities to help people of all ages learn about creeks, rivers, and lakes, and how you can all keep them healthy. Durham County residents have a chance to join litter cleanup, go on canoe adventures, visit nature preserves, or learn from their home. You can visit www.durhamcreekweek.org for a complete list of events. How to do business with Durham County government. The Durham County Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program and the Institute will be conducting a virtual business development training, How to do business with Durham County government, vendor registration to the RFP process. It's being held on Wednesday, March 16th from 1 to 2 p.m. You can register through Eventbrite. It is bit.ly/do-business-with-DCO. And the link will provide the trainings. The link of those trainings, once you register, will be sent out prior to the start of the event. Downtown Durham Feast. Help support Downtown Durham's small, locally owned businesses and bars with Downtown Durham Feast Month. Everyone is invited to eat or drink downtown and enter to win a weekly grand prize of a one-night stay at a downtown hotel, a gift basket, and a $100 spendable gift card. Visit www.downtowndurham.com/feast for rules and how to enter. Digging Durham Seed Library. Did you know that you can check out seeds at the library? The Digging Durham Seed Library offers vegetables, herbs, and flower seeds that you can take home and plant. You can take seed packets each season, and if you grow seeds, you can donate them for others to check out. By providing both a repository for seeds and training for the folks who plant them, the Seed Library helps to improve local sustainable food sources, enhance food security, develop local biodiversity, and boost Durham's foodie culture. This program made possible by the Durham Library Foundation. For more information, please visit www.durhamcountylibrary.org. And lastly, it's your county, so get involved. Durham County government has more than 40 active advisory boards, referred to as boards and commissions, that citizens of Durham County may volunteer to participate by applying for a vacancy. A description of the boards as well as a list of vacancies can be found on our Durham County website. You can also contact the clerk's office at 919-560-0025 or email us at boardsandcommissions@dconc.gov. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace, and also thank you. You do such a great job with managing, you and your staff managing all of the 40 boards. That's a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. A few things, commissioners. Just want to acknowledge this weekend was the anniversary of the death of Trayvon Martin, 10 years. I saw his mother on TV this weekend, and just knowing that this has been a 10-year anniversary for that family and what happened in our country. The other thing is just the excitement that we can all have on the historic nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court Associate Justice Judge Brown Jackson. I think that's something that we can all celebrate. The other thing, commissioners, I received a letter that I was just so excited about, and I called Mo and asked if her staff would like to be acknowledged. So I received this letter, and the staff is on the call. And there are four? Is it four people? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Is it 4, Mo?
Yes, it's Charlita Felder, Omar, yes, Cedric Graham, and Julio Samuel.
If they're on the call, if they want to turn their cameras on, then I'll read the letter.
Good afternoon.
That's Charlita Felder.
Okay. Talita, hi.
Hi, how are you?
And this is Julio.
Good afternoon, Ms. Allison. This is Julio.
Julio, good to see you. Thank you. Forgive me when I pronouncing that wrong.
More than what you could.
So, commissioners, this is a letter that I received. It says, on February 9th at 9:00 a.m., my wife and I were returning to Vance County after a medical appointment at Duke Hospital. On Interstate 85 at mile marker 181, our car motor stopped running and we coasted to the side of the highway. We called for road assistance. Help was dispatched, but never arrived as of 2 p.m. Thankfully, a Durham County employee, Ms. Charlotta Fielder, the supervisor in general services, drove by and saw my wife sitting on the ground with our dog at the top of the hill and me on the phone near our car. She took the next exit and returned to offer assistance. She wanted to make sure we were all right and safe. We explained our predicament. She said she would help. She called men she worked with and supervised to help. They stayed with us and helped us get back on the road. These Durham employees, or the employees you just heard, are examples of exemplary public service and are a tribute to Durham County. My wife and I want to acknowledge them for the help they provided and the care and concern they showed for us. We know that you and the citizens of Durham County value quality public service. We know that you are proud of these Durham County employees. Sincerely, Bill and Sherry Scarlett. So I just wanted to read this letter publicly to acknowledge the employees that contributed and did such great service to the citizens. And if you'd like to have a comment, feel free to do that.
I congratulate my team.
I think something that wasn't said is that not only did they get them back on the road, but they made sure that they were safely back on the road. I think Charlita can share a little bit of the situation that actually exists with this couple's vehicle. So, Charlita?
Yes, actually, I rode past. I saw them up. I saw the older woman up on the hill. I passed the exit, turned around, and came back down. When I came back down, I rushed up the hill. I didn't know what was going on. All I saw was a vehicle, and I saw an older woman sitting up on the hill on 85. I ran up the hill, jumped out of my truck, ran up the hill, asked her, was she okay? And she said that her vehicle had broke down. At that time, her husband had came closer, and he was asking me who was, and I identified who I was. I had a business card in my hand. I then turned, my team was 2 exits down, called them. One of them, which is Cedric and Julio, are somewhat mechanic, and they were able to take Cedric was able to take the battery out of the vehicle, and they were able to take the vehicle, the battery to AutoZone or somewhere, and they purchased another battery, brought the battery back to the car, they installed it, and it was a morning, and we got them back on the road. But I really thank my team, because when I call, they do respond.
What were the
Thank
weather
you.
conditions at that time?
It was freezing. The lady was sitting up on the hill with a little blanket around her. She was shivering. She was crying. She was just, it was like the traffic is bad on 85. I had to move up the hill. I thought one of the trucks was going. But I had called Durham County Police, and it actually took them 45 minutes to respond, and I find that very weird. When I explained to them that there was an older couple stranded on Interstate 85, and I needed a vehicle that had lights on it, you know, to slow the traffic down. And, you know, she was shook, she was scared, just wanted to make sure that the woman was okay and felt comfortable, even though her vehicle was on the side of the road. But me, as the supervisor for Durham County, it's my duty to make residents safe, and that's what I plan to do.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you and your team. So, any other comments from commissioners? Commissioner Jacobs?
Thank you so much, Chair Howerton, for sharing that letter with all of us and making us aware of this amazing story. And I must say that I'm not surprised, because in my dealings with Charlita, Ms. Felder, and we have worked together on many, many issues. And I've never had the pleasure of meeting you. It's just been through email. But I have always been impressed with you and your team. You're not just responsive to people in need on the road, but you are responsive also to Durham County residents when they are complaining about many different issues, whether it's trash or nuisance complaints or whatever. I have just been amazed, and Mo knows this, that Ms. Felder she just gets it done, and then she responds and follows up as well. So thank you for going above and beyond, not just in your job in Durham County government, but for the people wherever they are who need help. And thank you to all of you on your team. That is just an incredible story. Thank you.
I appreciate that comment. I give 29 years of dealing with solid waste. I take solid waste very seriously. It affects the environment, trash and pollution everywhere. And I stand on that, and I do my job every day to the best of my ability, along with my super team that I have.
Wonderful. And we have to thank the citizens that sent this letter in. We would not have known it had they not sent it in, so we just want to thank them as well. All right, thank you again for being on the call tonight so that we can just kind of celebrate you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Not only me, but my team.
Yes, absolutely.
And my wonderful boss, Chrissy.
Okay. I saw some hands up. Was that something that you wanted to say something, and then you took them? I saw Deborah's hand. I saw Dwayne. I saw.
We were clapping.
Was that an applaud, or that was?
Yeah, clap.
Oh,
It was absolutely an applause.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right. All right. We will move on. If there any other announcements from the board? I do have a resolution, and I can introduce that at this point. I'm so used to seeing them on the agenda, I didn't see it. We did it after the agenda was put together. So this is a resolution that was put together by Commissioner Jacobs. It started by her, and it has all the board's input. So what the suggestion is that each board member reads a paragraph. We'll do that little thing that we've done before so that each commissioner has some ownership and participation here. So Commissioner Jacobs, would you like to start it?
Thank you, Chair Howerton. And this is a Durham County Board resolution to stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. We, the Durham County Board of Commissioners, stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine who are inspiring the world with their incredible heroism, bravery, and resilience as they defend their homeland in the face of overwhelming aggression and military force.
Okay, we'll go Commissioner Burns, and then Commissioner Carter, and then Commissioner Long.
We, the Durham Board of County Commissioners, stand ready to do what we can to support the people of Ukraine and the opportunity for Ukrainian refugees to be welcomed into our community. We are grateful for the many refugee organizations and religious institutions who are leading and supporting the resettlement of refugees from around the world every day in Durham.
We, the Durham County Board of Commissioners, encourage Durham residents to stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, speak out against this war, and consider ways to help, such as supporting organizations providing direct humanitarian aid during this growing crisis.
Commissioner Long.
We, the Durham County Board of Commissioners, raise up our voices and join as one of the resounding voices of people throughout our world calling for peace, including Russian citizens protesting their government's actions. We are grateful to the people of Europe who are opening their homes to the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian women, children, and families forced to flee their country.
This is a defining moment for our world. Let us all unite in peace. Let us call for an immediate ceasefire to end this unpredicted and catastrophic war. Our hearts and prayers remain with people in Ukraine. And this is on behalf of all of the commissioners. And so thank you for putting this together, all of the board, as we think about people that this is impacting across our world. Any other comments on this? Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to follow up on some of the issues that were raised in our resolution. In terms of the humanitarian organizations, there was a great article in the Herald Sun yesterday that listed a lot of different organizations, and I will send those to Deborah and Monica and ask that we could provide that information to our community for people who are looking for a way to donate humanitarian aid. Some of the organizations are like the Ukrainian Red Cross, Nova Ukraine, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNICEF. There's many organizations. Also, I do want to note that our staff had already followed up with our own ABC board as to whether we were still selling Russian vodka in our stores. I noted just before our meeting that the governor has now issued an order, but even before that happened, I just wanted the residents of Durham to know that our ABC board had actually already taken action to remove Russian product from our ABC stores. So I'm proud that our board stands together with the people of Ukraine, and I know that this is there are going to be many ways that we will be able to continue to help in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns?
Quick follow-up, and I do want to concur with Commissioner Jacobs. I did get to read what we got from the ABC store. I don't know how public we'll be able to make it because, you know, there's some people who actually know, they know certain brands very well by name and assume that they are Russian and not, because even that distinction that I saw in the letter that Stoley put out about, no, they said we've been in Latvia for 20 years. And so I don't know how public we can make that letter. But I want to thank the staff for that follow-up, because that was even intriguing for me to read. I would also, I think at a time like this, I just want to lift up that there's a lot going on in a war-torn country, and there are a lot of ways in which we could choose to be divisive. And I want to make sure that we remember there are a lot of people who are in Ukraine. There are a lot of people of color who are in Ukraine. There are a lot of students who are in Ukraine. I know Poland was open so people could cross the border. And I know I talked to you, Commissioner Jacobs, earlier. Belarus is now open where individuals can cross the border. But we need to realize that if you are a male between the ages of 18 and 60, you cannot leave. Your wife and your children are there. So no matter what color you are, if you are a male, they're pulling you out. Now, there are some people of privilege who are getting across that. But what I also want people to do as we're sitting here and we're embracing this heroism, I want people to see that and also recognize that this is what it looks like when most countries are bullied. So whether it's the Ukraine or many other African nations, you know, bullying is bullying. And I just hope that as we marvel at this heroism, the next time we see a country that's in the Middle East, or the next time we see a country that is much smaller that's on a nation of Africa, and we see them with the same amount of heroism, whether it be with a rock or with their body in front of a tank, that we recognize and embrace this heroism the same way. Because this is not the first time that this will happen. This is not the last time it will happen. And we need to recognize it happens every day. It's just a little bit different now because everybody out there has a cell phone, and we can see this kind of tyrant bullying behavior live and in color in a country that has largely taken on democracy and kind of sort of moved away from communism. But again, as we see this unfold, I'm asking every citizen to think of these smaller countries that have to deal with this every day, look at them with the same amount of heroism, with the same amount of prayer and meditation. And again, I thank Commissioner Jacobs for bringing this one up, because I know it's one that we all care about.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Any others? Okay. And we will move on to our next item, Commissioners. We have before us the February 7th, 2022 work session minutes and the February 14th regular session minutes for approval. Do you have any edits or comments on these two? Commissioner Jacobs?
I move for approval for both of these minutes. I just want to point out, in terms of time sensitivity, that in the February 4th minutes on page 18, there are a number of requests for information that are going to be related to an item on our work session on Monday. So I just want to make sure that we all get that information for Monday. I just wanted to point that out, related to the transit plan conversation. But I move for approval for both the February 4th and February 14th.
Second. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs and Commissioner Burns. And we can get a roll call, clerk.
Commissioner Alon,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
and Chair Howerton.
Aye. Minutes are approved unanimously. The next item is our consent agenda, and we have 12 items on the consent agenda. Are there any items that commissioners wish to pull? And these are items on the consent agenda for the public that we have gone over during our work session, if not our work session within the last week or so, with staff providing detailed information. Is there one that you would like to pull, Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes, there's just one item, and I had touched base with Claudia, Interim Manager Hager about it. The 22-0103 about the additional funding for 300 East Main Street. Just wanted to make sure we gave the public opportunity.
I'm sorry,
0103. And so just so she has the opportunity to provide some additional information to the public about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else like to be pulled? Okay, seeing none. If I can get a motion to approve the consent agenda, is there anything that that you'd like to go over, Interim Manager Hager, before we approve them?
No, ma'am. I think the one that we're talking about is the only one that I would want to give additional highlights.
Okay. All right. If I can get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Long. Okay, and roll call.
Commissioner Long,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. So all items except for the consent agenda, except 22-0103 has been approved unanimously. So if we could have Jay, would you, is it Jay or Perry? I think that one is Perry. Is it both of you?
I think both of us will tag team this.
Maybe it's both of you would like to discuss that one. And Mr. Jacobs, you have questions?
Well, I think there's a desire to get some overview about the cost escalations, and we're, with this project, like many other projects, challenged with the supply chain issues, inflation, and other factors. And we have, of course, Perry and Jay, as well as Ron Stewart with Lowell Street, and they will give some quick highlights. And as they talk through them, they may sound familiar because we've had to deal with some of these challenges with some other projects. So I'll let them go from there.
So thank you, Manager, and good afternoon, Commissioners. This item is a budget amendment appropriating an additional $3.8 million, as well as an amendment to the Master Declaration Agreement for the 300 East Main Street project. As you may be aware, the construction activities for that project were slated to start late 2021. However, when Lowell Street recently bid the project project bids came in significantly higher than anticipated, to the tune of about $7.1 million higher. And so, as the manager stated, this is an all too familiar story that we're telling here. You know, the bulk of our projects, DPS projects, just everyone's capital construction projects are seeing an increase right now due to the COVID pandemic, the state of the economy, supply chain issues, material cost escalations, and et cetera. The big thing about this project is the 110 affordable housing units It's mainly stick-built construction, which is basically wood framing, and it has the typical components, the plumbing, mechanical, and electrical components that you see in residential construction. You know, unlike the deck, which is majority concrete, this stick-built framing is a whole different animal. And so that's the main reason for the cost escalations that we have. And so what we, through various meetings with Laurel Street, what we decided to do was kind of pull some levers. I'm borrowing Ron's words here, but this is how he helped explain it to the county. But basically what we had was in the construction project, or in the MDA, we had 973,000 plus that was supposed to come back to the county as cost reimbursement from Laurel Street. This was for stuff that we either did a 50-50 split on, like some of the site improvement. It also, some of the costs of the concrete podium, a portion of the concrete podium that made sense to be constructed during our project, some of the infrastructure that supports the affordable housing element that made sense, that actually ran underneath the deck. And so we eliminated that from the MDA. That reimbursement is no longer coming back to the county. We also had, previously, we had always intended for the daycare to be some sort of lease from the county, although it's within the ground lease for Laurel Street. Laurel Street is constructing the shell space for the child care center. So the county was always going to have to lease it back somehow. But what this does is we've defined those terms, and now at the tune of $169.5 a year at a 2% escalation over a 15-year term, we're at $2.4 million. And so with that, plus the addition of the additional loan up to 3.8, and we're saying up to 3.8, and it's very important there, is because if Laurel Street rebids this and they do see saving less than this anticipated additional funding, then that will actually come back to the county. We would not have to give them the full 3.8, it's up to 3.8 million. And so the bottom line is those three levers that we pull basically close that financing gap of the $7.1 million. And as you all are aware, the county had previously agreed to provide a loan to Laurel Street to the tune of $5,965,000 plus this 3.8. Now that loan is now up to $9,765,000 for the county's support of the affordable housing wrap on 300 East Main Street. And so Jay, Ron, Noel, if you guys have anything else you'd like to add, please feel free to do so.
Good evening. This is Ron Stewart, Senior Vice President with Laurel Street. And as Perry indicated, the challenge that I think everyone has kind of experienced as a part of this project and others is Perry's point, really the disruption in the supply chain. And so most notable has been the increase in costs associated with the lumber. When we had originally bid this project, it was early first quarter of 2021, and we felt very comfortable with the numbers at the time. But between Q1 and Q4 of 2021 was when all the supply chain disruptions really impacted the entire economy. And so that was the driver for the price increases on this project. Over that time, we have been working with our general contractor, which is Lgc, to figure out ways to mitigate some of this. That exercise is not over. And so kind of coming out of this conversation, some of the additional avenues that we're looking to exercise is just going back out to the market and bidding certain components of the project so that we can get more competitive pricing, which we will hope will lower the overall costs, which the county would realize those savings. Additionally, once LaChase identifies its primary subcontractors, we're going to bring those firms onto our team and basically do a design review of the whole project to look for other cost-saving ideas that we could implement, again, that would further bring down the overall cost of the project. I think one last point that I would like to note, going into this, with this being an affordable housing transaction, we're always financing these deals with tax credits from the state. And kind of going into, I would say, third quarter of last year, the expectation was that through the ARP funding from the federal government, that the state was going to help fill the gap. The state did set aside some funds to fix tax credit deals, but I think the unfortunate part was those funds were only eligible for 9% transactions, and 300 East Main Street is a 4% tax credit deal. And so some of the avenues that we thought would be available just didn't materialize. And so, again, we kind of look at every avenue to try to solve it without coming back to the county. But at some point, there wasn't any other mechanisms that we could pull without additional assistance. And so, from our standpoint, we definitely appreciate the relationship that we've built with the county thus far, and look to, break ground on this project in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. James, you have comments?
Hi, Commissioners. Noel Henderson James, Development Director with Laurel Street, Durham native, based in Durham. And I just want to echo Ron's statement. We have tremendous appreciation for Durham County and the commissioners and the support that you're giving this project. Obviously, affordable housing is a huge issue, not just in Durham, across the board, but this is where we call home. And it's wonderful to see the commissioners and the residents of Durham, participating meaningfully in developing new affordable housing. So I just want to echo, Ron's statement. We really appreciate the county stepping up and recognizing, they have a role to play and putting their money, where the mouth is, where your money already was. So we really appreciate it. And it's our goal to make sure, to utilize, the funds in the most, responsible manner, and realize those cost savings where we can. We look forward to working with you. Thank you so much. Well, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. James. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Burns?
Mine is really quick. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So one, I do appreciate it. I love when people can be creative. I think there's no project that we would work on as a county that we probably would not see ourselves going over this year. I think it was a joint city county meeting where we talked with, Keith and David, and we talked to interim manager Hager, and we found out, I think that wood and steel was up by 275%, 175%. And so what is that?
Well, I just texted Jay a note. Lumber in April 2020 to 2021 was a 375% increase. So it's gone back down. So now it's a 32% increase from this year. But to build in this market is quite the undertaking.
So what, the quick math, I hate that this is live because somebody's going to come back and videotape this, but that's what, $50,000 worth of wood is now $189,000. I don't know, 3.6. Somebody check that later. I know that's way off. I think it's more like 175. But either way, it's still a lot. And so I say all that to say two things that Mr. Stewart said and one that Mr. Anderson said. He says this exercise is not complete. I hope you all are going to continue to find ways in order to be creative. And I say that because I piggyback off something that Mr. Noel Henderson said. You said we did recognize that we have a role to play and that the world is watching. I was not on this board when these women made the executive decision to enter into affordable housing, but I do support that work. And the world is indeed watching, not just the city, not just the counties, other states, because there are other counties around the nation who are trying to dip their toe into affordable housing. So this exercise for us has to be successful. And I say this in a playful way, but I also mean it. What I don't want to see happen, and I know this is not going to happen here because people are watching. I don't want people to mistake. I don't want people to mistake our want for this project to go very well as a point of weakness, right? So I hope that we are continuing to be creative in how we figure out how to pay for it, because with the housing crisis that we are coming into, listening to Secretary Marsha Fudge at HUD, we are a long ways away from this going away. So it is imperative that this is successful. And I'm looking at you three gentlemen, and I'm also looking at, and I know that you all are being open and honest with us, but we might endeavor to do this again. So if we endeavor to do this again, whatever best practices you all pick up, whatever creative ways you all pick up, we're going to need to utilize those in the coming days, months, and weeks so that we can possibly jump out here and do this again in a couple of years. Because as you all can tell from the television, our residents desperately need it. So this is not just about money and alone. I'm so happy y'all can fill the gap, but we are really trying to save lives with this house. And that sounds like a heavy lift, but I'm looking at the faces on this camera and I feel very confident that you all can lift it. So thank you for the explanation, but help us do this again.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Thank you, and I appreciate all of the information. I thought it was important to provide that to the community because this is such an important project. We want it, as Commissioner Burns has said, it is very important it's successful, but I do think it's important for the community to understand how hard it is to do these projects and how much support it does take. I've heard Commissioner Burns say this before, that people don't realize how much the county is doing around affordable housing. And the fact that now, because of the market forces and the complexity of tax credit and things like that, we are actually, just for this one project, 110 units, to make it successful, working with a nonprofit, an outstanding nonprofit, experienced, outstanding nonprofit affordable housing developer, we still need to provide almost $10 million worth of subsidy. And I just think it's important for the community to know that. And also the fact that we are also subsidizing in this project childcare. The childcare facility in this is another thing that we're doing on top of the affordable housing project. So I again just want to make sure that we are shooting our horn, and to a certain extent that people know that we are putting our money with our mouth where our mouth is. I know that we're going to all vote to approve this, even though that it's $7.1 million gap that we had not counted on, because this is a priority of this board to get this done. And this is only the first one. We still have 500 East Main Street, and we don't need to get into it now, but I'm sure we're going to face challenges on that project as well. So, and Noel, I had not met you before. When I saw your name, I thought, was your mom a Durham public school teacher? Am I correct in that?
She was a librarian at Jordan High School.
Okay. So I'm getting to the age where I'm looking at people's names now and I'm wondering, is that somebody's child, so-and-so's child? So yes, your mom was an incredible Durham public school teacher, so educator. So
thank you.
Anyway, but But I appreciate the creativity and everyone working together to problem solve around this, and we are going to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Commissioner Carter.
Very quickly, I wanted to also say something about the fact that this project is one of our keystone, most important signature projects. And, at the Homeless Services Advisory Committee meetings, they ask a lot. What is the city doing? What is the county doing? The providers, the people that we've appointed to this committee, and they would like for us to do more. And so, that's why it is an opportune time to lift this up, to explain, as Commissioner Jacob said, how difficult it is, how costly it is. And it's a project that is our priority, which means we think it's reasonable to take $3.8 million out of fund balance, out of our debt service fund balance, to help cover this gap. That's how important it is. It's not every day that we spend such a large sum of money from one of our fund balances, but this is a reasonable expenditure, and wanted to lift that up as well. And thanks to Mr. Stewart and Mr. Henderson James, and of course to our own Mr. Manns and Mr. Gibson.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, well, thank you again so much. When you think about 10 years, we had a 10-year plan 10 years ago to end homelessness in Durham. And today we have more people that are homeless than we did 10 years ago. This is a much, much needed project. And as Commissioner Carter just said, we need more. So this has to be successful. And we are just so appreciative of the work and the commitment that you are. Jay, Perry, all of you. We appreciate the work that you're doing. So if there's nothing else, I will ask for a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Carter. Roll call.
Commissioner Alam,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. It is 220103 has been approved unanimously. Our next item, Commissioners, is 220130 Durham County Public Health Focus Update on COVID-19 crisis. And our own Rod Jenkins is with us this evening, our Public Health Director, to give us an update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening to you and to the commissioners, Interim Manager Hager, Interim County Attorney Darby. So appreciate your continued support. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Just want to make sure you can see it clearly. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Again, we give you greetings, and as we do from time to time, we still want to provide you with prevention strategies in this COVID-19 pandemic moment. We certainly want you to make sure that you're up to date. Again, my message is the same. Vaccinate, get your booster, wear your mask, get tested if necessary. Make sure you're up to date on your COVID vaccines and boosters. If you're eligible, encourage your family and friends who are not up to date on COVID vaccines to get vaccinated. Stay home if you're sick, get tested for COVID, continue to practice the 3W. Vaccines are still the way to end this pandemic. We certainly want the listening audience to understand that they're available. Vaccines are available within a 5-mile radius of just about every household. And of course, we still promote the prevention strategies as out. Total current cases, 468, COVID death, 312. Deaths have increased these past few weeks, although they are now leveling off. As I've said to you before, there are certainly, we certainly saw a sustained level of infection through the Omicron surge. However, all decreases are noted on the screen. We're pleased to announce to you all that we have seen a precipitous decrease in cases to the tune of about 56.67% from the previous week. And all of this is documented. That's still on our data hub. But the number of cases that we sustain as a result of the Omicron surge is still down. We're still looking at 29,583 COVID-19 cases since the beginning of the year until February 28th. So again, the impact of the Omicron surge was tremendous. We continue to keep an eye on racial equity and making sure that all demographics in Durham are accounted for. And throughout the post-surge, we have seen what I feel is remarkable, proportional representation across all demographics in Durham. Although our Hispanic, Latinx individuals are proportionally high in representations at this moment, they still are less than 14%, which is the amount of individuals of Latinx origin in Durham. We see the Black or African American 30.51%, and whites underrepresented by 40.5%. Our positivity percentage is relatively low. We're proud to report that right now it's at 5%, and we expect it to go even further. But to put things into context, I think the next slide will do that for you. The rates have dropped, and it mirrors our epi curve. So take you back on January the 16th through January 22nd, it was at 26.4%. The next week, 19.3. Next week, 11.1. On to 8.4. 2 weeks ago, 5%. And it's projected to be at 4.5% this week. We're certainly seeing a huge dip in positivity percentage and cases. Our 7-day moving average continues to drop as indicated on the screen. And of course, as far as the number of cases, this slide really shows you exactly where we've been toward the middle of January, where the highest amount of cases we had, 1,573 in 1 day. And now it is projected to level out to be below 221 as we enter the March. Hospitalizations continue to go low as well. Again, we still receive reports indicating that most of our hospitalizations are those who are either unvaccinated or partially vaccinated. The same can be attributed to the amount of deaths that have been reported as well. But again, the good news, as our partner in healthcare at Duke has indicated, across the 3 Duke University hospital system hospitals, the COVID-19 beds are really, really low, from a high of about 365 on to about 164. So that is certainly good news. And with these new measures, this is certainly what we are paying close attention to. I'd be remiss if I did not indicate to you all that we do have COVID-19 testing still going with our partners, OptumServe, Central Espada. We have, as Mrs. Wallace indicated, we have a huge event coming up at Wills Fun Park, Durham County Memorial Stadium. Of course, we still have the 2 sites, Cooperative at DPAC and Durham Technical Community College, and over 30 different sites throughout the greater Durham community for people to be able to get tested. So again, no shortage of testing for Durham County. As you may have heard, Friday evening, the CDC finally came up with their new metric. and these metrics are now being adopted by our data team with specific emphasis on new COVID-19 admissions per 100,000, percent of staff inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients, new COVID-19 admissions per 100,000, of course, percent of staff inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients. All of these are metrics that have allowed the nation and the state to look a little bit different than we did about 2 weeks ago. You can recall everything was in red. Stands right now. This is a map that was published as of last week, and where green and yellow represents low, medium, respectively, the orange represents high. Spirit of transparency, of course, when it was published, Durham County was still listed as high, and with the new widget on their app, they're still admonishing people to wear a mask indoors, stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccines, get tested if you have symptoms, and additional precautions, again, all of which we are definitely projecting as well. As mentioned, COVID vaccines are available in our vaccination clinic. It's open Monday, Wednesday through Friday, 9 to 4. Tuesday, extended hours, 9 a.m. to 5:15. You will notice that we have abbreviated the extended hours in preparation for the 500 East Main Street construction that is set to commence sometime. Vaccines are available for children aged 5 to 11, which have been approved. And of course, we have boosters for those who are eligible, 12 years of age and up. Again, our vaccine dashboard continues to show how Durham continues to lead the way. We continue to be in the top 5 in counties vaccinations. Total white population, 61.02% fully vaccinated. Black African American, 49.57%. Asian population, 74.81%. Of course, our Latinx population in Durham, 62.85%. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that all of these statistics represent full vaccination. If I may, I'd like to talk about the indoor mask mandate. With new CDC metrics, Durham is still in the high rate of transmission category. We fully expect through our modeling for that to change, but that is indicative of COVID cases still above 200 per 100,000 population per week. Our models do show that we should fall below this number by the end of the week. COVID hospitalizations and admissions, staff and patient beds are at acceptable level. Per our previous guidelines, our positivity percentage has been below 5% for 2 consecutive weeks or incubation period. So be it resolved, I have recommended to Chair Howerton and Mayor O'Neill that we lift the indoor mask mandate effective 12:01 a.m., March 7, 2020. A few final thoughts for you all to consider before I answer questions, I should say. The situation still remains fluid. It is always possible that we can reimpose the mask mandate if variants start to circulate again and the following metric worsen. That is COVID cases per 100,000 persons in the past 7 days increasing. New COVID-19 admissions per 100,000 population, 7-day total increases. Percent of staff and patient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients increases. So again, I reiterate, the situation remains fluid. Per CDC, masks are still required in public transportation and in healthcare settings to include hospital, our very own hospitals here in Durham, and the health department. I'd be remiss if I didn't say it is still okay for our residents to wear masks. Vaccines and boosters are still promoted and encouraged for those who are yet to be vaccinated. Durham remains a very vibrant, resilient, and strong community. And there's a reason why we're in the top 5 vaccination and have listened to the science for many, many months. I cannot thank this board enough. I cannot thank the city council enough for making some hard decisions that have kept our residents safe. However, it is now time for public health to advise the community as opposed to mandating the community. We know that our community is an informed community that will listen and act accordingly. But more importantly, now is the time to allow kindness to prevail. There will still be many people in our community who will still wear their mask, still operating with a tad bit of trepidation. We just ask that the listening audience extend grace and kindness to them. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share. This time, I'd love to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Rod. This is great, and I'm sure that our public is excited to hear that that the mask mandate is being lifted, and that it's a choice that so desire to wear your mask. That is up to you. But as our health director advised, we're still not all the way out of the woods, and we still have to take care. I will open it up for board members for questions or comments. Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Jenkins, as always, for this great report and lots of good data points for us. So many good data points that I couldn't quite capture and keep in my memory. Some that I'd like to. So I want to ask if you could repeat a couple, or maybe help me understand what are the trigger metrics, like the metric that if it drops the number of cases per 100,000 per week is below what number, that triggers maybe a decline into the less than high transmission category, which is why it then means that the CDC and we believe it would be safe to remove mask mandates indoors. I'm just wondering what that number is. It was 50, I think, and now is it different?
Yes, ma'am. It was 50, and now it's 200, and of course that's 200 cases per 100,000 persons in the past 7 days. They're also focusing more on the number of total cases and also the number of hospital admissions. Commissioner Carter, they are moving away from what they feel is rudimentary metrics that are not necessarily applicable to where we currently stand inside the pandemic. Again, that involves positivity percentage. It also involves really the number of people unvaccinated. They do believe that vaccinations are still important, but those metrics that we have not used for so long that honestly I'm going to have a horrible time getting away from, because I've been saying it for so many months. But they're getting away from it, and understandably so. I mean, we are at a point where there is so much immunity within the community. There's so many people who are vaccinated. I'm so proud of them. Durham is quickly approaching 75% of the eligible population vaccinated. We certainly know that we have new demographics coming online somewhat toward the middle to late April, with individuals who are 6 months to 4 years old being eligible to be vaccinated. My staff is preparing themselves for that to be able to really meet the pent-up demand. But again, vaccines have been our business. We've been a hub for many months. We've been providing vaccines for a long time. And we are also just excited for this moment in time. That's where we are now. And CDC did kind of wait a little bit long to publish the new metrics. So we had to do a little bit of work over the weekend just to prepare for your consideration.
I really appreciate the stance that you have taken in your advice to us thus far, and the stance that Chair Howerton and the mayor have taken to remain cautious. I know we've gotten a ton of emails from people asking that we remove the mask mandate. We've also gotten some asking for us to keep it. And so I really appreciate your stance on it. So if it's 200 cases per 100,000 in the past 7 days, that means we could still have 600 cases 800, let's do 600 cases approximately in 7 days. And when we're below that number, and we expect to be by March 7th, that triggers the removal of the mandate.
Absolutely.
Thanks. And so I think it's good that that's really clear, and it's now clear to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter.
And one other thing, Rod, do we anticipate having some sort of campaign around boosters? I know that our percentage of people who are fully vaccinated, not counting boosters, it's pretty high. I think we're about 30% of our population has been boosted. And basically, if people haven't been boosted, their resistance to Omicron is not as strong as it needs to be. And so I just wish that we could somehow or another increase our numbers there. And I know that you guys are thinking about that all the time. Just wondered if you've got anything in the works.
Actually, Commissioner Carter, we have met with the state with their Healthier Together team, and we have had at least one meeting, and we've been kind of emailing each other back and forth. The state has offered a number of different resources, and we are just still in the process of formulating our game plan as to how we want to do it. I know I mentioned it at the last meeting, but that was prior to the meeting. So our vaccine operations team continue to work. Somewhat of a tough lift because, again, those individuals who truly want the booster, they know it's there. As mentioned, you get vaccinated in a 5-mile radius, but we're going to do everything we can to include campaigns around radio ads, particularly targeting boosters and pediatric vaccinations. We're definitely going to have social media presence. We're going to do a number of things to try to encourage it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell my commissioners, in no way, shape, or form do we want the listening audience to feel as if, with this move that we're going to forsake historically marginalized populations, those people who are most vulnerable. It has been our goal from the very beginning of the pandemic to really keep a watchful eye on those populations. I think by and large, we've done a magnificent job under some really tough circumstances. But the plan is to continue to do all that we've done. I've had some private conversations with some of you, just kind of let you all know that we're definitely not taking our foot off the pedal, hands off the wheel. We're going to continue to stay inside our posture. However, it's definitely going to be more of an advisory type capacity because this vibrant community that we live in, they have listened. And they've been emailed, and you all have received lots.
Thank you, Director Jenkins.
Absolutely.
Go team.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions? Well, okay.
I was about to say Commissioner Law had a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Law, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Director Jenkins. As Commissioner Carter mentioned, this was a very informative presentation. I have a couple of questions because I know these are a couple we'll probably be anticipating community members to be asking us. First, I wanted to start off with, do we have any indication of when children under 5 may begin to be able to get the vaccination?
We were ready for, I want to say several weeks ago when we were preparing. The CDC and FDA decided to postpone it. It is projected to come online for middle of April or late April. We've not received a definitive date. However, when it does happen, certainly announce it broadly. But we know that there's some demand out there, and we look forward to providing.
Wonderful. And then I have 2 more questions. I know this is more difficult because of the nature of collecting this data, but do we have any idea of data about what percentage of our K through 12 population has been vaccinated?
I could find that out. I don't have it readily available, but I do know that in Durham, and I'm just going off memory, Commissioner Long, in Durham, we were one of the top 3 counties when it came to pediatric vaccines. To us, it was Orange County, and it was, believe it or not, Watauga. That was the last information I received on that. But I do know that we came out of the gate with pediatric vaccination. And of course, that's to be expected because we are the city of medicine. But we did a very fine job, and I fully expect that it probably tapered off a little bit, but be more than happy to get this board that in.
And then my last question is, with the county moving towards lifting the mask mandate on the 7th, what would that mean? Like, would that cause any restrictions for, say, like for our school board members? I know they voted to keep the mask mandate in place for the public school systems. Would that provide any restrictions for them to keep their mandate if they choose to do so, or change their rules, as well as for like local businesses who may choose to also still require masks for their safety of their staff and the well-being?
I will start off with businesses. Of course, we don't regulate businesses, and they really feel as if that's their posture to keep themselves, their employees, and their patrons safe. Certainly their choice. As far as schools, we know that schools have a once a month vote, and we look forward to conversing with them. However, our decision, certainly impacts what they do, but at the same time, I know that there's that once a month vote or whatever, and I believe it's a couple of weeks away. As I've said to you so many times before, my staff has been in constant contact with Durham Public Schools throughout the pandemic, and we meet every Monday to discuss certain things. So I certainly look forward to having some further discussions with Superintendent Mabenga and staff. Also proud to report that, as far as since we're talking about schools, Commissioner Long, let's talk about the big. We do know that NC Central and Duke are patiently waiting and observing what we do. There was an announcement from the University of North Carolina system indicating that campuses could go mask optional, but they did recommend that for those chancellors in certain jurisdictions to do what's best for them. So I'm pretty sure that Central will pay close attention to the announcement. And of course, Duke, from what I hear, pretty big basketball game coming up on the 5th. They will be masked during that game, and shortly thereafter, I'm pretty sure they'll probably be partying for the week after. So we'll leave it like that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jenkins. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Jacobs?
I think it's going to depend on maybe so, Rod, for that celebrating. Rod, it's really, I'm sitting here thinking about the past 2 years and this date of May 7th, which is almost ironically 2 years to the date when we really started facing this pandemic. That press conference that you were at, I think maybe the first time we met you, with Durham Public Schools and the city and the county all together over at the Health and Human Services building. I believe it was around May 7th or somewhere around then. So, and then of course we issued our state of emergency for Durham County. I think it was May 13th, and then April 17th was when we implemented the face coverings order for Durham County, one of the first ones in the whole country to do that. So it's really been a long journey. I'm thrilled to see the numbers moving in the direction they are. And it is really, really important. And as you have said, we can attribute that to the hard work of your staff, of many, many people who've been working on this in our health system throughout Durham County. Our nurses, our public health workers, but and also the people of Durham, because people in Durham have continually been putting thinking about our neighbors and thinking about how we all impact each other. So I would just say that I'm glad that you mentioned kindness because there are going to still be people who can't go around without a mask on. We have immunocompromised people in our community who will remain at risk, and they're all ages. Some of them are children. They're people of all different ages and backgrounds who simply are putting their life at risk, and they can't help it. And we cannot forget that, and we want to be very tolerant and considerate of each other and supportive of each other, and with our seniors as well. And that's not going to go away. We are going to be living with this virus and whatever virus comes next. So I hope we all hold that in our heart in Durham, that we will still keep taking care of each other when we need to. Also, I'm wondering, in terms of the new data point that you just shared with us, and I'm going to have trouble stopping to thinking about positive case rate too. When will this start being kind of pushed out on our data dashboard? And then moving forward, and I know you and I have already talked about this, do you foresee something like almost like a dashboard that's very easy for people to read, like green, yellow, red, which we're kind of doing already, but related to those key metrics, those two metrics, I guess, so that people who need to, because they are at risk for their situation, can check that to know, like, today I need to make sure I go when I leave the house that I wear a mask. Kind of like we get the information on the news about, and I'm blanking out, ozone for people who have asthma or have lung issues and things like that. We get those ozone warnings. So just kind of wondered when we're going to see some of these metrics out there for the community.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair, and I appreciate the question. It's always good to get a thought-provoking question. Back to the dates, though, I'll just add one more for you. It's kind of poignant that mask mandate is coming to an end on the 7th, because March 6th is going to represent 2 years since the first confirmed case of COVID in Durham. So I just wanted to throw that one into the mix as well. My data team is awesome. Is all praises due. They are hard at work trying to reimagine our dashboard. We want to make it front and center, knowing, of course, we still have the curve and everything, but we want to make it user friendly as possible. It's not just any dashboard. It's an award-winning dashboard, so we want to make sure that it stays up. I did have a quick meeting with our Population Health Division Director, who pretty much manages the data, today around 3:30. She's indicated that they're going to be hard at work reimagining that. So again, we always want to make sure that we're fresh. Our data is published twice a day to ensure that it's accurate. And we will, as I mentioned to you privately, we won't stop. We want to make sure that our residents are well informed. So our work continues. Although some of the COVID work is moving to the side and some other assignments being given to us. But nevertheless, we know that COVID is so important, it's still a priority for our residents. And I appreciate all this. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you, Rod, so much. And, as we think about lifting the mandate, I also want to lift up these last 2 years and the families that have lost loved ones. That it has not been an easy year for them. And it has not been an easy year for our business community. So we all have some wounds that are healing, and we just hold each and every one of us in the light that we begin to heal, because it's been a tough 2 years. So I just want to thank you and all the health providers, healthcare, nurses that worked and in the places that really put their lives on the line to take care of this community, to say thank them. Thank all of you. And what is it, March 7th?
March 7th,
March
12:01
7th,
a.m.
12:01 a.m. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Is
you all so
anything-
much.
Anything else? All right. Thank you. And also, just one thing, I want the community to know that this conversation is not, it's the mayor has been in this conversation along with us. The mayor, the city attorneys, Duke, community partners have all been. This has not just been Durham County. All of us in this together. All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next item, commissioners. We have 220099, presentation of the fiscal year FY 2021 annual financial audit and annual comprehensive financial report, and the FY 2021 annual single audit and compliance report. So the board is requested to review the FY 2021 annual financial audit and the ACFR, and I forget what that's pronounced as, and I'm sure our finance people will tell us, and the FY 2021 annual single audit and compliance report. So we have presenting this will be Scott, and our managing partner from Cherry, is it Beckett?
Beckett, yes.
Okay. LLC, Durham County's external auditors for the annual financial audit and single audit. And also we have Susan Tizai, our Chief Financial Officer on the line.
Yes, and I'll just, go ahead.
I was just going to introduce you, Scott. And also just to clarify, the acronym now has changed to ACFR. So it's no longer CAFR, it's ACFR. So, yes, ma'am.
Spell it.
Yeah, ACFR.
ACFR. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. With me is Mike Carey. He's going to share his screen and our presentation this evening. Help me with it. So what I'm planning to cover, you see with the agenda on the next slide, are the role of the external auditor, discussion of internal controls. We'll list out the significant audit areas that we tested during the audit. We'll talk about the results of the audit and required communications, and then happy to take any questions that you all may have. So the role of the external auditor. Here you see sort of the lay of the land as we move through an engagement. But those actions that you see there on the left of your screen, those start early, and really for the June 30, 22 engagement, we'll be starting probably next month. So really starts in the March timeframe and goes all the way until that LGC deadline in October. But we'll plan and perform the procedures, develop our approach based on our risk assessment as well as historical knowledge of the county. Then we perform the audit. We evaluate those audit results for reasonable assurance. Again, you'll see throughout all of our opinions that we are providing reasonable assurance that the statements are materially correct. So not absolute assurance. We're not guaranteeing every number is to the dollar. There's a concept of materiality associated with these financials. Then the results are we express opinion on the financial statements, that ACFR that Susan mentioned, as well as on internal controls of the county and financial reporting and compliance. And when we talk about compliance, that's that single audit that you hear us reference. And then required communications. There are a number of things that we're required to communicate to you all They include accounting policies, estimates, misstatements, and then other items. And we'll go through those. So in terms of internal controls, you see here the significant cycles that we identified. That's financial close and reporting, cash receipts, cash disbursements. Payroll is obviously a large expenditure for you all. The grant revenues, and then tax revenues. We test controls around cash disbursements and payroll. Payroll we do on a rotational basis. The journal entry testing we do, we utilize a software called Active Data. It allows us to mine essentially your general ledger for high risk activity and then dig down into the supporting documentation associated with those. And then we also evaluate your information technology controls, including IT level controls, backup, recovery, access and security, network security, and then that cyber security you see there. In terms of the significant audit areas, assets and revenue included cash and investments, receivables, which were both property taxes and sales tax, that grant, federal and state grant revenue we talked about, and then sewer utility revenue. On the liability and expenditure side, accounts payable, payroll, and then your benefit. In terms of the other items we looked at, long-term debt, capital assets, your fund balance or net position, related party activity, and then regardless of the dollar amount associated with them, management estimates are always more of a higher risk item for us. And so we look at that, and then obviously any litigation that may be occurring. So in terms of the single audit, you heard me mention that this is your federal and state grant compliance. On the left, you see your federal major programs. There is a formula that we use every year to identify federal and state programs. We need a certain dollar amount of coverage, and then we also need, depending upon when the last time that program was audited, it may come up for rotation, even though its dollar amount may not be so significant in the current year. So when we did that calculation in the current year, the federal major programs are listed there on the left, and then the state major programs are on the right. What we test for: allowable costs, eligibility, reporting, procurement, the local match if there's any that's required, and then subrecipient monitoring. In terms of audit results, our opinions included the financial statement opinion. It was an unmodified opinion. You see here financial statements, internal control over federal and state programs, and also your debt covenant compliance. All of those were unmodified opinions. And that's the highest level of assurance that we can provide. Essentially, it says that we are not aware of any material misstatements associated with those. And then in terms of internal control over financial reporting, we're happy to report no material weaknesses were noted in that financial statement audit. In terms of internal control over program compliance and statutory compliance, you see here, both on the left and the right, two findings that we identified. One we identified was a significant deficiency around the medical assistance program. That was a repeat finding. It's been there, it was there in the prior year as well. And then that deficiency, that non-material non-compliance deficiency, was in that epidemiology program. And that was a new program tested, and that was a new finding.
All right, so for required communications, we're required to communicate to those charged with governance, accounting policies, and changes in estimates. For the 2021 fiscal year, the county implemented a new government accounting standard board 84, which is fiduciary activity. Estimates included in the ACFR are allowance for depreciable lives to use for depreciation, pension, and other post-employment benefit liability, self-insurance liabilities, and then the fair value of estimates and derivatives. We're pleased to inform the board that there were no misstatements noted during the audit as a result of our audit procedures. And then just some other items that were required to communicate that we had the full cooperation of management. We didn't have any disagreements with management, and as far as our knowledge, there was no second opinion sought by management on any accounting issues. New for this year is some Lgc performance indicators that we're required to communicate to the board. The only item that we noted was the late audit submission. The Lgc requirements are that the audit be filed and submitted by December 1st, which I'll get into on the next slide. And then the board's required to provide a written response to the LGC within 60 days of this presentation. And Susan will provide that draft letter to the board. All right, and just a couple other matters. As I noted before in the last slide, the required audit and compliance report were filed with the North Carolina Local Government Commission on January 27th, 2022. LGC reviewed and accepted the audit deliverables on February 1st with no follow-up requests for changes. And then for this year, management will apply for the Certificate of Excellence on the 2021 annual report, and they did receive it on the prior year, which is noted in the annual report package.
And then you'll see here on the next slide our contact information. As always, happy to answer any questions you may have today, but then also as we move forward, anytime you all have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Happy to answer any questions, update you on the status of the engagement, discuss any findings or concerns that you may have. So with that, we'll take any questions anyone may.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scott. Commissioners, Commissioner Jacobs and I serve on the audit committee, and when I'm not available, Commissioner Burns is the alternate, so she gets to hear some of this information as well. So so we may not have a lot of questions, but the rest of the board may have a lot. So I'm opening it up for questions from the board. Commissioner Carter.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and congratulations to Durham County for having another good audit, great audit. I probably should say. This is becoming routine, I feel like, for commissioners to receive these excellent audits. So thanks for all your work, Susan, and to your finance team and to all the departments who provided information. It sounds like a very, very painstaking process to go through every year. And I cannot imagine conducting it either, Mr. Duda and Mr. Carey. So I just wondered if you could speak a little bit to I don't know whether you even call them findings, because there were no material findings, but there were a few deficiencies that did not rise to to a level that appears to be of a huge amount of concern. But nonetheless, could you just speak to those a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. So, and as you heard from Commissioner Howerton, we do go into much more detail with the audit committee. So they have heard about the status of those findings, but happy to discuss those here. So the concept, I talked about the concept of materiality in the financial statement audit. And so, right, like we're not going to the dollar. There is no concept of materiality when it comes to compliance auditing. When we're talking about those federal and state grants, right, like they are requesting that you provide certain documentation. They are requesting that you spend every dollar on an eligible expense, for example. If one of those dollars is spent on something ineligible, we're required to report that as a. So that's the reason the hurdle for us upon which something would require us to report, much lower for the grant testing. So that's why it's not unusual to have findings, certainly not for the county. But with that, so in these instances, what it was either something was identified as needed to be documented in a file, and then that file was reviewed. You all have a review process. And then there was a deficiency noted. Someone needed to follow up on a phone call or whatever to have something documented. There's a certain amount of time that has to take place with, okay? And in some of those, that didn't take place by the time we selected that file for testing and obtained it. So it was still in process, but it hadn't been done yet. And normally those things need to be taken care of within 30 days, 45 days, a reasonable period of time. And with COVID, as you can imagine, things are slower. And so, but again, we don't have a concept of materiality in that compliance finding, so we're required to report. Same thing with the second finding on the epidemiology program. That was a reporting requirement where you all are required to report certain things to them on a quarterly, annual basis, those types of things. And that deadline was missed. It was only missed by about a week and a half or 2 weeks, if I recall correctly.
but it wasn't like it wasn't done. It was just late. And again, in the COVID environment, not surprising, but we're required to report.
Thank you. That makes good sense, and I appreciate the additional explanation. And I really appreciate you clarifying materiality. You know, that was very helpful. Susan, whenever we get the audit, I always try to spend time, it's mind-numbing time, I might add, looking at the funds, fund balance especially is always of interest to me. Columns, rows, teeny tiny, and it's all online now. I just wonder, and this question is spurred both by the audit, the fact we received it, and also by the earlier decision we made to use 3.8 million from the debt service fund balance. It's made me want to know more about other committed funds that we have and what their fund balances are, and how those are changing over time. So I don't want that tonight, of course, but I just wonder if that is a reasonable, relevant question. It feels like it is, as we spend money from different fund balances now, just trying to keep a handle on that so we know what we have, what's available.
Yes, Commissioner, I'll be happy to do that. Over time, you see this, like a committed for risk management, and so you just take that number for granted. So yes, I'd be happy to put that together for you.
The other thing I'd suggest, if you haven't done it, the back materials, very interesting, maybe mind-numbing occasionally, as I can appreciate, but there's a front section called the management discussion and analysis, which is very high level, and it does talk about some of those fund balance, the percentage and also the dollar amounts over a reasonable period of time over the last 5 years. So if you don't want to spend all your time in those back statements, that's a place where you can get some of that information at a higher level.
Very good. Thank you. I read it too. I must admit, the lingo is not natural in audits, but it is universal. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Jacobs?
I didn't have a question. I really just had a comment, which is I wanted to congratulate Susan and all of her team for another certificate of excellence. And again, especially at a time when sometimes we have been down staff. And I also want to commend all of the Durham County departments for a great audit. The fact that we only had 2 and they were non-material is pretty astounding for the amount of paperwork that is filled out every day, documenting, especially related to obligations related to use of public funds, whether there's federal funds or state funds, and especially DSS. So much happening there in public health. So I really want to commend all of our staff who have been working under very challenging circumstances who made this possible. Thank you.
And I would just like to add to that, you're right. All the departments, having been through cyber, having been through COVID, all the departments are suffering from shortness of staff. It has truly been a challenge, but everyone has stepped up to the challenge, not just finance. But I would also like to take the opportunity. I don't know if all of you have met or seen the Deputy CFO, Crystal, who plays a vital role in helping me manage this process, especially the single audit. Crystal, are you on? I knew you were earlier.
No Crystal's name.
I don't see it.
Especially at DSS. Where's Crystal?
Yeah, she was on here.
I think she's decided she's had enough.
There she is.
Yes,
Okay, great. And I wanted to acknowledge staff in finance who put forth a lot of work. We've been short of staff, and they've they really stepped up. So I'm very proud. And Durham County is as financially strong as we've ever been. And that's kudos to leadership.
I just want to say, I see you, Commissioner Burns. I just want to say, you know, even when you had very few of your staff was coming in to work because of COVID, you were able to maintain and keep things above, you know, above all the levels that you would expect people to do. You were able to do that, and we so appreciate it. Great job. Commissioner Burns?
It was a
I
team.
think you all, oh, sorry, Susan. I think you all hit it. So I went out and came back in because I didn't want my sound, but I think you and Commissioner Jacobs hit it. To the point that she made that Chair Howardson made earlier. You know, I do get to sit in every now and then on the audits. And so I was really just gonna take time. One, thank you to the group presented. Like I'm excited that we are in such a good financial position. You know, I get excited about those things because for one, if you're in a good financial position, you can leverage more and we can do more for citizens. It's not missed on me that Durham County does a lot more for its citizens, but it is because we're in a position for financial institutions to not tell us no. And so that was the first thing. Number two, Susan, I wanted to give you your flowers because this has not been a usual audit year, right? It just really hasn't, because you've had an increased number of like external reviews just because of CARES Act. And I know, you know, there were so many people, you know, when folks had to go back to do timesheets at the state, we had to go back, and there were so many employees saying, I don't see why we have to do that. I was like, well, I have to do it in my job. Yeah. So I was happy to take some of those bullets for you all. And I remember people, I can't believe Susan's making us do this. But look, we did it, and look at where we are. Like, look at what position we're in. And also to just your staff, that was, again, I said heavy lift earlier. It really was. You all rose to the occasion. So it's another thing to say short staff, COVID pandemic, had to do things manual. And then we had not just the regular review boards, but you all rose to the occasion, and we're just thankful for you. And there were some other issues that you all, I know it was hard for you all to stick last year. And I want to say thank you for making us look good. And thank you for making a way for us to be able to continue to do what we do, unencumbered and uninterrupted for Durham's residents.
Thank you. And I'm sure my department thanks you too.
Did Ms. Wright want to say something, or?
I want to say that we have had an awesome year, even though we've had the cyber and the COVID. We stuck together. We are Durham County. We are a team, and I just thank each and every one of you for your support. Thank you.
You are welcome. Anything else? Okay. All right. I don't see Commissioner Long. You have to get that hand out of that corner over there.
Yeah. I think it might be blending into the background. I need to find a new background. It makes it easier to see. Thank you so much, Howardton. Yeah, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to add it on to the kudos because I know I don't sit on this board. And first, I'll start with thank you so much to the group, Mr. Carey, Mr. Duda, for your diligent work here, and adding on to Susan and Mrs. Wright and the entire budget staff and team that's been keeping us compliant. But also kudos and thanks to Commissioners Howardton, Jacobs, and Burns for sitting on these boards and this board and commission to make sure that we stay compliant and keeping us as a board, me and Commissioner Carter, informed. It means a lot for us that we are, even though we aren't able to sit on that board and see everything. And looking at this report, it's a lot to see and it's a lot to process. So thank you so much to all the time that y'all have put in to keep us on the right path.
All right. Okay. If there is nothing else, I will ask for a motion that, do we have to take a vote on this? Monica, do we have to take a vote on this?
No, ma'am. The request was just to receive the reports of the audit.
That's why we're hesitating. Okay. All right. So we're complete with that one, and thanks again. The next item, board commissioners, did I hear somebody? The next thing is boards and commissioner appointments. Is our attorney, are you ready for the boards? Attorney Darby?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. There are 4 ballots that we'll go over. The first position would be with the Alliance Board of Directors. Good evening, commissioners. I'm sorry, good evening.
Good evening.
You had 1 vacant position to fill, and you filled that position with Carol L. Council. Carol L. Council. You also had 8 vacant positions on the Durham Racial Equity Commission. 2 at-large seats. Crystal Kenny, Sheila Mullins will fill those vacancies. Then you had 4 votes for 4 positions for members from the leader, community organizer, or community rooted organizations. You selected or elected Leah Effred, Tiffany Foster, Ruth Phillip, Ernest Smith, and you had a youth to place on that board or commission, Ramaya Krishna. Go Triangle Transit Advisory Committee, 1 position. You fill that with James F. Farron. James F. Farron. And the 4th position, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, you fill that vacancy with Benita Graham. Those are results of your elections or selections for this term.
Thank you, Attorney Darby, and congratulations to all of the individuals that have been appointed to these boards. We certainly appreciate you. As we said earlier, as Ms. Wallace mentioned, we have 40 boards and commissions. And so much of the work that you do impact what we do. Recommendations coming from you is you take the time to invest your time and do research and make recommendations to this board, and we really appreciate that. So thank you again. Commissioners, that brings us down to our closed session. I want to say thanks to the community for being with us tonight. Thanks to our staff. And I'm going to request for closed session at this time. The closed session are as follows. Is to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3. To establish or to instruct public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, or the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract pursuant to GS 143-318.11A5. And I will ask for a motion to move into closed session. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Ms. Wallace, did I miss one?
Yes, ma'am. It's on the back page. It's the one for personnel.
So there's another one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That one must not have printed out. Let's see if I can get to that one real quick. Let's see, let's get the bottom, okay. So I got 1, 2, okay, the last one is to consider the qualification, competence, performance, character, fitness, condition of appointment, or condition of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee of prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee pursuant to GS 143-31811A6. Okay, did I get them all? Got them all, okay.
Yes,
Now I can have a motion to move into closed session.
Madam Chair, I move that we move into closed session for the reasons stated.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Roll call.
Commissioner Alam,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs,
About that, aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Been properly first and second, and we are moving into closed session. Yes.
Okay. All right, so we do have all the commissioners on the line. We also have acting County Attorney Darby on the line.
So we have met in closed session, and the board has given directions to offer a contract to Kimberly Sorrells as our incoming county manager. I need a motion and a second.
Madam Chair, I would put forth a motion for the Durham County Board of Commissioners to authorize the chair of our board to sign a contract on behalf of our board to Kimberly Sowell for employment as our incoming Durham County manager.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Can I get a roll call? Vote.
Commissioner Alam.
Aye.
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
And Chair Howerton.
Aye. Been approved unanimously. And now can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Madam Chair.
You?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second to adjourn. Do we need a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Alam.
Aye.
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
And Chair Howerton.
Aye, we are adjourned.
Good night.